the basic paradigm that people have when it comes to life being physical is, well, first of all, it is physical. But what does that mean? The basic paradigm is that the world consists of hard, solid matter that extends endlessly in all directions, separated by empty space. What do I mean by that? I sort of mean, right now, if you've got your eyes open and you're looking around you, you can see solid objects, right? You can maybe see the walls in your house, you can maybe see doors, you can maybe see surfaces, or if you're outside, you can see the street, you can see trees, you can see the grass, people. Okay, these are solid objects, what we call solid matter. It's not just that, it's that those objects are separated by space, so they're clearly limited. A door starts at one side and ends at the other side, and it's got a clear delineation. And between the door and the window, there's a clear space that's completely empty, and the objects themselves are not empty. And this extends endlessly. So, well, the universe isn't literally endless as far as we know, but I'm using this in a sort of metaphorical way. I mean endlessly in that as far as your visual field extends and as far as you can imagine outside your visual field, you have this sense that the world is physical, that it's physical objects separated by space. Physical objects can mean anything from a pen to an entire street. It's just physical matter and it's separated out by air and so on. So that's the basic paradigm. Now, obviously, I'm going to question this paradigm because if I wasn't, I probably wouldn't be doing this episode, right? And my basic conclusion is not as simple as that. But I'm not, for one thing, I'm not just going to throw the paradigm under a bus. I will a little bit, but I'm not completely, because it exists. This paradigm exists for a reason, and it has validity to it. However, there's some very serious problems with it, and there's three. This is a very good segue. I'm proud of this one. There's three very simple problems with this paradigm. Think of this as like my introductory critique of this paradigm. First of all, we covered this last week, spent an hour talking about this last week. If you want, go back and find the episode that I did last week on does an external world exist? My main conclusion there, and this is my first problem with this sort of materialistic paradigm that we tend to hold, is that you cannot actually prove an external world exists. It is an assumption that you make about your experience. Present experience is all there is, right? And then the idea of there being something external to what you're experiencing right now is simply an idea within your current experience, right? So when we say, and obviously often we don't say this, but this is how we conceptualize the world often, we think of it as beyond our visual field, beyond what we're currently experiencing. It's not only that there's something beyond that, is that something is matter, and it's solid and it's stable and all the rest of it. It's like this endlessly extending kind of physical world beyond what we're currently experiencing. If you can't prove that external world exists, then you can prove even less that external world is solid, right? That's the first problem. The second problem, and this comes from fairly modern physics, not super modern, but it's pretty modern. It's certainly more modern than Newtonian physics, is that when you analyze the atomic structure of physical matter, and when I say physical matter, I just mean the floor, the ceiling, the surfaces, the objects around you, just everything that seems physical to you. When you analyze, and even your own body and your brain and everything that's made of physical matter, quote unquote, when you analyze that at an atomic level, at a scale that is sufficiently small, you realize that it is 99.99999, I don't know how many nines it is, but 5 or 6 nines after the decimal, empty space. only a tiny percentage of physical matter is actually physical in the way that we think it is. And I don't mean it's empty space in that it's like air, it's filled with air like a balloon. No, it's absolutely empty. It's literally between, the space between everything we call matter is completely empty. If it wasn't empty, there would be matter there, and it wouldn't be empty space. It's completely empty, right? So whenever you're looking at a door, that is mostly empty space. Obviously, you don't see it like that, but the fact of it is that on an atomic level, it's 99.99999% empty space. Just to say, I'm not going to say the nine's right every time, and I don't think it's that important for this purpose. I can just say it's so close to being pure empty space. Not aired, absolute empty space. So, well, that's a huge point. I'm not going to go into that right now because I could talk about that specific point for quite a while. But clearly that presents a problem for our materialistic paradigm. Third, when you dream at night, the dream world seems physical to you. When you're dreaming about being with your friends, or you're dreaming about, I don't know, something that happened in your past, you've got an environment around you. The dream takes place in a certain environment. It might be the street you grew up in. It might be a place you've never been to before. But, it looks like a physical world. It looks like the ordinary world. And it feels that way in the dream. When you're dreaming, you don't fucking realize that you're dreaming. It feels like you're in waking life. And it feels physical. What's my point? That clearly physicality isn't an absolute thing. If it can feel like our dreams are physical when we're dreaming, then clearly something is up here. It's not as absolute as we think it is. If literally we can sort of construct physicality in our dreams when there is no physicality in terms of, the world, the waking 3D world, that physicality is gone. And yet when we're dreaming, it feels like we're in a physical world. So clearly there's something not quite right there. And I'm not sure what the answer is to that actually, but it just shows you what our nervous system is capable of. And it's kind of like, well, if our nervous system can do that when we're dreaming, it can literally construct a physical world from nowhere for an hour or 2 hours, however long we're dreaming at night. What can it fucking do when we're waking and we're actually in what we think is a real world? Again, I'm not saying I have the answer to this. It's a very difficult question to answer. I'm just saying, look how problematic it is, folks, to say that physicality, that the world is physical and it's stable and it's real and all the rest of it. It's a very slippery thing, okay? And these 3 points, the first one being, you cannot prove an external world exists, as I talked about last week in a lot of detail. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please listen to that episode. The second point, that matter, what we call physical matter, is actually 99.999% empty space, with more nines probably. And that when you dream at night, the dream feels physical to you. You put those 3 together and you realize that this physical thing isn't so clear cut after all. What the hell does physicality mean? And what the hell does the world is physical and the physical world extends endlessly around me? What does that mean? And that's what I'm getting at today. I'm exploring the intricacies of all this, because even when we look at 3 basic critiques like that, it shows you that it's not as cut and dried as it usually seems when we're living our life.